All right, welcome back.
To a million little minions a minute.
There we go. That's the name of it.
That's where we are.
Sorry that it's been a while. We, our main excuse is that we got into some trouble with the Minions Illuminati stations, Illuminati Studios, otherwise known as Illumination Studios.
It's portmanteau for Illuminati Nation.
That's right.
Yeah.
They found out that we had torrented the Minions 2015 and we're using it to promote. I don't really know. They found out about our podcast and they found out what we were about our teachings, and they sent me a letter telling me that I had to delete the movie from my computer and stop sharing it with other people. And yeah, so that really set us back a little bit. And
one of the things that we've been doing since then has been trying to determine why exactly they need us. They want to stop us.
Yeah.
And because, we know that we have a feeling, at least, that we're onto something here. And it sure feels like, from that letter at least, I don't know, I'll just say portentous.
Yeah. I mean, if you're listening right now, Illuminati Studios, you're not our villain. We don't care. And, this is for the people. It's not for you.
And you can try to stop us, but we already have the movie.
Yeah. Newsflash, I didn't delete it. I mean, I did delete it from my computer, but it's in the cloud. So sorry. It's my Bible. I'm not going to delete my Bible. That's sacrilege. Yeah. Even if
my Bible is the actual Bible, by the way, but that's fine.
Yeah. We
all have different Bibles, I guess.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own Bible. This is the Minions movie. Mine is the Bible.
Yeah. That's what they say. One man's Bible is another man's Bible. That's the saying. But anyway, one of the things we've been planning since we've been laying low for a minute because of this Illuminati Studios business was we want to try to get as many people together to sort of support what we're doing, show Illuminati that we're not going to back down. We're not going to be scared by their scare tactics. So we want to try to do an episode with all of you listeners, really as many people as we can get into a Zoom. We want to try to get them into an episode. My Zoom account holds 400 people, so we want to try to get as close to that as possible at once to talk about a minute of Minions together at the same time.
So if you have access, any of you have access to 400 people or even 300,
yeah,
we don't even ask that these 300 to 400 people have already listened to the podcast or subscribed to our Instagram, a million little minions a minute, with all underscores in between each of those words. All that we need really is for these 300 to 400 people that you might know of to appear on the podcast together in one Zoom. And that's like, Not that big of a deal. Just get us 300 or 400 people.
What are they doing? 300 people. They're probably just sitting around waiting for somebody to give them a command or some kind of instructions, like minions. So, just give them the orders, and we'll do our episode.
Yeah. They need you to impose your will on them, so that we might have a proper episode. What's the episode going to be about? We don't know yet.
Yeah, we got to roll the dice for that.
Roll the dice.
There'll be a special ceremony for that particular episode because it's going to be such a momentous occasion. But
I guess it'll just be whenever y'all let us know that you have 300 or 400 people ready for us.
Yeah.
Every minute comes whenever. So please, we're waiting.
Mm-hmm.
We're already impatient.
Yeah. Send us an email. No, but you should try to send us an email, see what happens.
Okay. I'll be right back.
All right. I'm ready to worship. Here is it's the 4th minute, which, it's kind of a confusing way to say it. It's between 3
centuries.
Yeah, exactly. It's like centuries for the decades. No, wait, not like decades, like centuries. All right. Yeah, this century of, it's really great.
What if we called the 80s the century of 1990, or the decade of 1990? The 1990 decade. The 1990th decade. That's what it would be.
Yeah.
That would be the proper.
That's what it is. That's how I've always called it.
What's your favorite kind of music? 1990th.
I'm pretty partial to the 21st decade butt rock, but that's just me.
21st decade?
No, wait.
Like the year 210.
Never mind.
Well, actually, I bet there was some good music back then.
Yeah, that's there was some pretty good bars.
Yeah, if we were in Pakistan or something,
yeah,
we could have heard some good Qawwali music or something.
I'm pretty sure that most of the music in if I'm getting the century right, the 210s, and that's it was mostly kind of Drain Gang like stuff around then. Yeah.
Interesting.
Not many people know that, but that's where that music comes from.
From the 210.
Yeah, it's kind of like a revival thing. New 21st century is what they call it.
New 21st decade.
Yeah, that's right. New 21st decade.
Mm-hmm.
But with new, like new metal, like NU.
New old music.
Yeah.
New ancient. Okay. We should watch the Minions.
All right.
I'm gonna pause it here.
Yeah, that was that.
That was the first 20 seconds of the minute. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for those who couldn't see what was happening, there was we don't really know what was happening before this because we've only seen this minute, but there were
in media res.
Yeah, right. Minions rolling like little pill bugs down a hill,
Uh-huh.
seemingly against their,
Somersaulting.
yeah, somersaulting. And one there was a dinosaur rolling on a big boulder,
A
and
spherical, perfectly spherical boulder.
right, yeah. And one of the minions rolled down and he hit the boulder and it knocked the dinosaur.
Well, he rolled down, he got up right under the boulder.
Right, right.
And there was just like probably a couple centimeters between his head and the bottom of the boulder. And he just like, it almost looked like he was not going to kill this dinosaur, but he did. He killed the dinosaur. He knocked into the boulder and it fell, and the dinosaur just went,
It shrieked.
sudden and
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah.
It just like dropped off of this kind of little skinny precipice thing, and fell brutally into some lava.
Yeah. And then all of the minions came up to watch the dinosaur dying in the lava, and then they started weeping. They were, I guess, really saddened to see their new boss or villain die like that.
Yeah, they all had like massive like dismay faces, kind of like wide eyes and like, you know, yeah, open frowning mouth kind of almost. And so it was weird that it was really dramatic that the dinosaur took kind of a long time to fall all the way into the lava, and so they had enough time to gather at this precipice, and they're looking down in horror, and then this lava gushes, it shoots up in front of them, kind of grambly, actually, just like this. You don't even see it come back down or something. It has like enormous force behind it. This dinosaur falling into the lava has affected a huge like response. Must have been really, really like significant that they knocked this dinosaur down into the lava for it to have shot up so forcefully.
Yeah, it's almost like nature claiming it again or something. Like they destroyed the biggest boss that was possible to destroy at that time, and nature responded with this sort of fury, with this volcano pillar, like a pillar of fire. Yeah.
I wonder if it's meant to also kind of because, you know, this is the Minions in pre-human history. Mostly we know them with humans. I wonder if this represents the prehistorical defeat of the extinction of the dinosaurs. I wonder if this is supposed to stand for,
yeah.
Somehow the Minions were responsible for the dinosaurs going extinct, or like, but then again, no, because, you know, we know it's a meteor and the Minions pushed this one. It's just the T-Rex, maybe, because the T-Rex is the villain of the dinosaurs, right?
Yeah, that's how it's portrayed. Yeah, I don't know. It's possible because the whole thing is like they're kind of rewriting history a little bit. Like the Minions kill the Egyptians, like kill a pharaoh later on.
Yeah,
kind of skipping ahead a bit, but then they mess with Napoleon at some
so
point.
so it's something. The Minions are responding to maybe some quality that's like an ahistorical essence almost, that ties the T-Rex specifically, not just any dinosaur, but the T-Rex to Napoleon, to the Pharaoh,
right,
to these other sort of like perfect villain figures or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, you know, yeah, villains, I guess. I don't know. Maybe something that's important about it is that villain is a pretty good word to unite all these different things, because we could say tyrant or something, but a tyrant may not be as good a word, or maybe it is.
Right.
Are the minions looking for tyrants? Is this T-Rex a tyrant? I mean,
it's like almost like
Tyrannosaurus,
Right.
tyrant,
oh wow, okay, yeah,
dinosaur. So,
that's
okay, yes. So, but then Napoleon, pharaohs, yeah, kind of tyrannical. Yeah. So maybe tyrant is another. Tell us, villains, do y'all want to be called tyrants now? Email us.
little freaking tyrants. Yeah, it's like these are like sort of nodes of accumulation of power or something, like, and the minions at every step in this history disrupt that accumulation. They are attracted to it, but their attraction to it results in them destroying it somehow. Like,
Yeah, they want to unite with it, but then when they unite with it, it becomes this sort of power that they want to join with and add to and become a part of and increase as a part of. In every case that we see so far, they end up inflating it too full such that it explodes or something.
Right.
Like there's so much power that it becomes more than it was supposed to be, or changes from what it was supposed to be because
Right.
there's too much of it or something. So like this, well, we don't see what happens originally with Tyrannosaurus Rex.
It seems like they tripped it or something, kind of slapsticky. It was like, so, I feel like it was an accident.
So maybe, okay, and in any case, when they get down to the precipice, it's the minion being there at all, just trying to insert their power into the one minion, at least, even just one minion can, want to join in the power of the villain so much that it can knock the villain off of a fucking precipice into the lava, and then the lava shoots up like fucking
right.
wild. And so the minions, in their enthusiasm, even tiny little bits of pure enthusiasm can like make destiny go one way or the other, apparently.
Right. And they're very, I mean, it's a kind of naturalistic thing. It's not portrayed as something the minions want. It's just like in their nature to cause that, even like, and it's almost like in every case they're accidentally destroying these tyrants. But
yeah, of course, because especially that's shown clearly when right after one of them knocks. They don't even blame the one at all. They don't look to the one. They all just look together in regret.
Yeah. Well, no, here
they accidentally killed their villain.
they give him a little like admonishing.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, here. Let me show you what I'm looking at right now.
Oh yeah.
It's the one.
Oh wow. Retribution. Shit.
Yeah.
Wow. It's paused on just the right spot to see that. Oh, that's powerful. That still.
Maybe I'll take a screenshot of this. It's kind of good.
We should put it on the Instagram. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, you really plugged that well. Yeah.
A_million_little_minions_minute.
No one's gonna forget that.
Did I say little? I meant lil. Anyway.
Yeah.
They are regretful, even to the extent that even though they're a mass, almost always undifferentiated right now, one of them is slapping the other one who accidentally knocked the boulder into the lava.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it almost feels like that's, I mean, this is the first time we see it, but I mean, it's a minor, they're treating it kind of as a minor offense, just a pat on the slap on the
enough,
wrist kind of
just enough to yeah. And it's not even like it's not even like the whole group of minions crowds around and that one of them is publicly slapped or publicly anything. This isn't a considered like conscious punishment thing. This is more just like a reaction, like a momentary reaction from this one minion to another one minion. The rest aren't even crowded around anymore, are they? They just left, huh?
Yeah, they've moved.
So it's just like an emotional outburst.
Yeah.
Not calculated.
Like, oh, you're so clumsy.
Oh, and were you saying that it was like a shoulder? Let's rewind about 2 seconds.
Nope, it wasn't.
Oh, okay. It was one of those like kind of good-natured knocks on the back of the head.
Yeah. Like, oh, you're so clumsy, but there's no hope to make you change. So here's a slap.
Oh. And honestly, it looks like it probably was pretty forceful because he's rubbing the back of his head, looking down in, grief and regret and abjection at the lava that has presumably closed up forever around their would-be tyrant Rex. So
should we
dinosaurs.
Yeah, that was a beautiful description of this, and it's really a kind of existential image. If you just look at it by itself, it's really
we should do a little collection of screenshots to go along with this episode.
Yeah, definitely.
To put on the I'm not going to do the whole I was about to say the whole thing with all the underscores.
Make a gallery.
We're going to keep going.
All right.
Easy for these guys, but they never gave up. With the emergence of the Stone Age came the rise of a new species. Man was very different from the dinosaur. He was shorter, hairier, and way smarter. The minions took an instant liking to man.
So, yeah, so that
a lot there.
So much. Now, so just to describe it, we saw the kind of like transition scene from the dinosaur part. This is kind of like a montage, I guess. So for the montage parts, they have little illustrations of the minions encountering these different tyrants, and between the dinosaur and this caveman, they're illustrated on like a cave wall, like a cave painting, and it looks like there's some images of bison and stuff that look like reminiscent of the Lascaux caverns, which were like, prehistoric, some of the oldest cave art that we know about. And then you see the minions there on the wall along with those bison. And then immediately after that, we're in this like savanna-like area, but at the mouth of a cave, a big cave looking out over this savanna. And there's a pretty stereotypical looking caveman that they're all looking at. Yeah.
And the narrator.
Right, we got to talk about the narrator. Yeah, I mean, the narrator's just
bad voice.
So awful. I mean,
yeah, we said at Illumination Studios.
Yeah. Yeah.
Picked a bad narrator for this.
Yeah. They
Should
picked,
have been David Attenborough. You know, it should have been David Attenborough.
yeah, or anybody. They chose this guy, Jeffrey Rush, who's I was just reading about him. He was the Barber Barbosa in Pirates of the Caribbean. He's Australian. Apparently he got Me Too'd recently, but
Oh.
he sued the like Australia has these like really crazy anti-defamation laws. So he was able to successfully sue the newspapers that like printed the accounts of his sexual harassment and
All right.
make tons of money. Anyway, yeah,
Oh. Mm-hmm.
that's important, right? Is that important info?
It lines up well. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it strengthens the badness, doesn't it? But so, yeah, he's saying some things. What did he say?
He said like the minions, it wasn't easy for them. Just kind of a meaningless thing, I guess. But then
humans
they really
so
like
much smarter.
Yeah.
Humans are so much smarter than the dinosaurs. And he's saying that as this little monkey who has a diaper on, a yellow diaper, which we'll return to that shortly. The monkey's trying to use some big heavy rock ingeniously to crack something, I think. I didn't notice what it was, but he was being clever. And this big brutish looking human, which we should describe what he looks like as well. We'll give a visual description in a sec. But he sees that the minions are behind him. He sees that the monkey is, doing some clever thing with the rock. He grabs the rock from the monkey, who doesn't even realize that he's grabbed the big rock from him, and he tries to like eat it. The big human, who the narrator has just said was so much smarter than the dinosaurs, he's tried to put the big rock in his mouth, if you can believe it, and he's trying to eat it.
And then the monkey is understandably pretty upset that the guy is eating his rock, and then starts sort of howling a bit in protest. And then the caveman just punches him. So it's like,
out of the frame, punches him out of the frame
all the way out. Yeah,
rapidly.
So clearly the caveman is the bully, and it's supposed to be a dumb brute. His whole like sort of vibe. I mean, I don't want to judge a book by its cover, but he's being portrayed to be a lot in the way that the hippie was like earlier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really ridiculous.
Yeah.
This would be a good time to describe the look of this scene.
Right.
So the minions have these bones in their little alfalfa sprout tuft things, like sticking up things out of the middle of their head, little hair with a little bone. And the big guy, the big human, does too. He's got a bone with a little stupid little tuft of hair coming out of the top of his head.
Yeah.
And he's got a huge brow. You can't even see his eyes. His nose is silly and big and round.
Yeah.
He's got wacky teeth.
Yeah, his teeth come out like a hog or something.
Big old weird teeth. Okay, but then his beard is like his beard. I think I'm sensitive because my beard is not that far from it. Like if I tried and used some kind of like, minions can grow beards. Just in case you're wondering, shut the fuck up. I can have a beard even though I'm a minion.
Minions have chins. Little known
yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
Stop minion chin erasure.
But Kevin, you can see that if I really tried, I could kind of.
Looks exactly the same.
Thank you. But it's awful if I really like went all the way with that kind of.
The beard has like a long point at the end. For those who can't see it, it's like almost like an entire index finger sticking out of the point of the beard.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of in a beckoning kind of like a come here gesture if it's an index finger. Anyway, pretty bad looking, large, babyish man.
Baby-like, yeah.
Huge shoulders and neck, like weird neck, and like big man.
Bad posture too.
He's
got the knuckle. What is it? What's called like
knuckle dragging?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a perfect stereotype of a knuckle dragger. And the chimp is also wearing clothes, which makes us think that maybe the chimp is his pet or something.
His pet, but also the minions are wearing clothes. Right. So everybody in the scene is wearing clothes, which I was thinking suggested that this is all post-Edenic,
right?
Somehow already, even though it is like prehistory, that already everybody knows their nakedness and stuff. But anyway.
All right, let's keep watching. Let's see what happens next with our caveman.
Caveman. I hope some of you villains were chanting along with me.
Minions took an instant liking to man and helped him the best they could.
Okay, so they're trying to help, for sure. But they just... Para la buquer. That's interesting minionese that we need to ask our...
We need to get Bob back on here. Okay, so...
Bob. We need Bob.
Where is Bob?
Okay, so... Okay, that is so confusing. Narrator just said so clearly, and I think sincerely, it sounded quite sincere to me, when he said that the minions were trying to help the best they could. Why did they think that replacing okay, so a big fucking bear has come up with huge scary teeth.
Yeah, well, so they're walking.
This also huge human has a big club that you think like he might be able to bat this bear away with. But the minions.
Yeah, they sabotaged him, whether it's intentionally or it seems unintentionally, but
it's so sabotage.
They gave him a fly swatter.
A fly swatter, can you imagine?
Which it doesn't seem like it could exist then, but apparently did. And they had one, and they gave it to him. And the caveman seems like he really weighs and considers this. Like he's like,
yeah.
Are you guys sure that like he's looking at them and he seems really genuinely concerned?
This is a really expressive part that I think if we can return to Benjamin now with the the test of, so this is the first human that we see, and you know, in the test of like humanity, this guy is passing, even though he's like this weird, like brute kind of pitiful figure, caricature of an early hominid or whatever. He looks really soulful here. You can see like a deep, really intense consideration of this question of like, if these minions want to help me so much, why do they want to replace? Like, is this fly swatter really gonna help?
Yeah.
He looks so much weaker than my thing, but he has faith in them.
Yeah,
He takes the fly swatter from
like
them.
a baby.
Instead, he tosses his huge club away that looks so powerful. He tosses it away and he takes their tiny little poorly constructed fly swatter too. Did you see that construction?
Yeah, didn't really know how to make a fly swatter.
No, clearly not.
Yeah, and then he whacks the bear on the nose with the fly swatter pretty cartoonishly, and that's where our minute stops. So we don't have any idea what's going to happen now. But you can only imagine that it's not going to be good.
So this is a funny moment when, if you've never seen the movie and you're listening to this episode, as we presume, hopefully many or most of you are.
Yeah.
It might feel like a cliffhanger, but don't expect until like many episodes later, because every time we do a random selection, remember.
Yeah, it could be 100 episodes
know.
before we find out what happens after this.
Mm-hmm. So sorry about that, but anyway.
Yeah, so and it almost seemed like you were talking about the soulfulness of it. It almost seemed in some way like he knew that this wasn't going to turn out well. Like it was like
kind of resigned.
Yeah, he was going through all of the emotions. Like he was preparing himself, I guess, for death in a way, which felt really powerful to me.
Mm-hmm.
He had like 3 full seconds to go from confusion to fear to resolve and preparation for death. So that in those 3 seconds of contemplation, I think there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, you really only see that once you've watched it as many times as we have. But
or my deepest, dearest hope is that the villains listening also get a sense of that through us, that we could be a bridge for you to walk across into this really profound connection with the amazing depths that you get when you just like really watch this movie.
Yeah,
it's in spite of the Illuminati nation's agenda, in spite of themselves, I mean, sometimes a broken clock has minions infest it and do what they want with the whole thing and set the time to whatever they need to, whenever they need to.
Yeah. It's a famous phrase.
The best hope for when you have a broken clock.
I feel like that's a great segue to start talking a little bit more about the Illuminati nation agenda with this part, because I mean,
oh yeah, true.
Yeah, like there's a lot to unpack, I think, but one of the main things that we're sure about, as we're independent researchers trying to get in this, we're not funded by Illumination. We don't have to see with their blinders on. But one thing that it seems like they're trying to do is to set up Despicable Me with this movie, which is which is fine. That's their right. I mean, they've got their they've got their reasons for that, I'm sure. But we obviously
live and let live, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we're in it for the minions, so we have to sort of grudgingly accept that, but ultimately what we want to do is try to make a real sequel to this movie Minions, where that doesn't happen, and we can get more into that later. But the main thing that you need to know is that Gru is supposed to be like the best villain for the Minions and
final cause.
Yeah, right. And so
their ultimate goal.
Exactly. Yeah. And the whole beginning here is just showing them moving through history towards that final goal. and coming up against all of these different tyrants who are insufficient in some way. And it's kind of like a history of the world told through great men, which is something that Gru really represents to us, and in some ways, like we see as a really reactionary way of looking at history, and one that really, I in some ways is a kind of concession to the order that exists, and it normalizes hierarchy and normalizes all kinds of sort of ingrained systems of power. And this might be obvious, but the way of looking at this sort of world as this history of villains, who the minions are sort of innately attracted to, really, to us, we think really sort of distracts from the true potential of the minions, and maybe misrepresents what the minions are capable of and where they can go. And maybe we need to start telling ourselves a different history of the origin of the minions. And yeah, maybe looking at the caveman is one great place to start with that. So that's why we think this episode is pretty interesting. And I don't know if you want to add on to that, Stuart.
No, I don't. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's interesting about the caveman is, he's alone. He's portrayed as this sort of in this world of sort of dog eat dog, the war of all against all, right? He's just fighting monkeys and beasts for his survival. And so
okay, right.
Hobbesian kind of world that the caveman lives in.
Okay, right. So we can try to question the context that this story holds around the ascendance, or the kind of like parasite relation of minions with the rise of humanity. Like okay, right. So if the Illuminati nation is somehow invested, which seems quite clear that they are, in the maintenance of hegemonic power structures like Gru,
yeah,
like a final an end of history, like Fukuyama would say, then it makes sense to question their framing of the development of humanity, right? And so what you're saying, right, is like that we should rethink, considering what we know about, or considering what we know at least a little bit more accurately about the early development of humanity.
Yeah.
And just the horizons of humanity in general, even atemporally. We should probably try to position, considering that the minions are real, but the Illuminati story about them is not necessarily, probably not accurate. We should try to reposition them within a better context.
Exactly.
And so then there is a good, so you're saying the Hobbs, okay, right. So
yeah,
we know this. I think everybody kind of, at least, even if you haven't heard of Hobbes, the philosopher, by imagery and kind of like tropes and shit, the idea of like the brutality of the status of humanity in kind of bare nature without quote unquote civilization.
Yeah.
This like worst case scenario, like Lord of the Flies. People, most people who read Lord of the Flies, most teachers who teach Lord of the Flies, don't position it properly within the, like, I mean, maybe the author should have done a better job, you know, before the first chapter, saying in italics, like, this is a book specifically about what I, a teacher at an upper class British boarding school, imagine that specifically my students might do if they were, you know, stranded on a desert island. So most people don't realize that Lord of the Flies was not intended as like a general critique of human nature and like, but anyway, I mean, so yeah, that's
Like Squid Game, I think might be another kind of
you know,
touchstone for
first.
the modern ones.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know, put a bunch of people together and they're gonna.
Well, but that Squid Game though has like a really, really different, like, alien violence that's not way worse than just the demands of nature on a desert island. I basically, what I was saying about the position and the intention of the author, he was a boarding school teacher.
Yeah.
I don't know. I only somewhat recently learned about this, but because a lot of people don't know about it. I grew up in Texas.
Yeah,
Stewart, the Minion. I grew up in Texas, and I didn't know that he was really specifically writing about a certain sort of person, a certain kind of kid who grows up already in a social cultural context, which will inform what they will do when they get to a desert island, if they ever got to a desert island.
Right.
It's really important to know about that story, that it's not supposed to be like a pure essence of humanity kind of thing. Everybody mistakes it as that.
Well, because it's, I mean,
because of Hobbes, because of Hobbes's original picture, probably, that was so influential at its time, of this brutal, horrible, warlike state of nature for humans.
Right, because that is, I mean, that's then used as part of Hobbes' system as it is kind of today to justify authoritarian governance, basically, that like we need a Leviathan, or the
calls it a Leviathan. Like, what? Like a monster. I mean, at least it was honest, I guess, thinking of the Leviathan. Maybe I have weird more associations now maybe than they would have back then, but it just seems like a terrifying word, Leviathan. Like, wow, okay. But yeah, Hobbes's idea of the state kind of founded any idea of modern, of, you know, the state has developed very, very far from that. There's a lot to it that I guess wasn't, but anyway, Hobbes originally used this picture of what it would be like if we were all in a state of nature. He just posited, and everybody believed him, that everybody would be like trying to kill each other all the time because there are not enough resources and shit. And I don't know why everybody fucking, like, clearly not everybody believed him. There were interests that this ideology in certain ways for certain kinds of leverage or whatever. Some people believed it enough. Anyway, we still believe it, apparently.
Some, I mean, if you ask
Illuminati nations trying to keep us believing that, because this guy has, he's alone in his cave. He's brutish. You know, Hobbes said things about brutality and nothing that he described, as far as I know, was like pretty or idyllic, unlike Rousseau, course,
Right.
we've had another state of nature
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting to talk about as well, but not what's pictured here with the minions and their caveman thing.
Mhm.
They're coming upon a
Yeah. I think
hapless, weird, but very powerful, violent early man.
yeah, he's just living among a bunch of bones of his victims.
Right.
Yeah.
Huge mammoth skulls sitting outside of his cave opening.
Yeah. If we, yeah, I mean, to talk about Rousseau just a little bit, I feel like the way that, Rousseau's picture is much more generous about what early man was like. And, but
Well,
the similarity
I
was,
want to say here that so we both read and listened to a podcast episode about a new book that's coming out from
Yeah.
David Graeber and David Wengrow
yeah,
called The Dawn of Everything. We read an essay that they wrote. They talked about Rousseau and Hobbes, and that's part of why we're talking about them.
yeah,
Anyway, I wanted to just interject a little bit that Rousseau, I think, deserves a little note before we start to dive in, because I wanted to read, but I've been busy, and so I just listened to a couple podcast episodes about Rousseau's thought, and I realized he was kind of cool, probably, and onto something, at least with some parts of his thinking, because he specifically was saying that he didn't mean to suggest that this state of nature was a stage, but rather more of like a synth, or like a clearly artificial thought experiment, which itself probably has problems. But considering that, as Graeber and Wengrow are trying to point to, we as humanity have a long history and prehistory of like lots of just changes, just like kind of mixes of different sorts of changes all the time, and not just like certain specific determined paths like into states or whatever. Rousseau specifically saying that this isn't a stage of human development kind of gives him a bit, I want to give him a bit more credit for saying that this is like more like a potential pole of the human experience. This
Sure.
idea of and maybe he could even, I was thinking that he could even maybe get along well at parts of Rousseau's thought, not so much when he gets specifically into politics, because I didn't like that so much, but I thought that some of what he was saying about nature could be friendly with like Bookchin and
yeah,
and Graeber, and even like I think I remember in the episode there was maybe a little shade of like acknowledgement that Rousseau had something more than Hobbes did about the idea of man, quote unquote, in nature. He was
right. Well, I mean, I think that the
it
thing
seems like there's more there.
that's a great caveat, because I mean, Rousseau was in some way responsible, whether it's all the way or as much as he was supposed to have been responsible for the French Revolution and
exactly,
kind of utopianism, basically.
At least that, and beyond that, like at least for the legacy of the French Revolution itself, Rousseau should be considered as worthy. Probably, I want to read him. I want to read at least parts of his work again. But also just like as a general critique that could be ongoing of our relation with nature, that maybe could even link with like spiritual notions, like, the kind of pretty popular, pretty accessible, like Thich Nhat Hanh style Buddhism, where it's like, do you know the river that's nearest you. You should know the river. You should know the trees in the river that are around you.
Right.
Right. Simple shit like that. I think that there's still. Anyway, this is a little bit of a meandering path off of the Minions.
I wanted to just, yeah.
But the minions seem somehow caught in this Hobbesian world. That's sad.
Yeah, that's clear for sure. And they and it's I mean, the thing I was gonna say that connects to Rousseau a little.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a long footnote.
It's just that as far as I understand it, Rousseau is was concerned with the individual as even though inequality was his sort of was the problem he was trying to sort of solve intellectually, he did want or thought of the ideal as a kind of state of individuals and
so even though he started to try to go in the right direction in some way in his critique of humans kind of abstract dominative relation with nature, he made something of kind of the right move, but he didn't get it right. He didn't. He imagined things in a pretty presumptuous, and maybe it was the best he could do at the time. But in any case, this is what Graeber and Wengrow, they had some more specific and more accurate and exciting ideas that is the book out? I don't know.
It's I mean, I have a copy of it that I downloaded illegally, but
Illuminati Nation, don't listen to the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, but I mean it's just
a podcast.
It's about to be out in this country but it's out.
Oh yeah, you live in no country.
Yeah,
so it doesn't matter.
It's not illegal here in international waters.
Nowhere.
I'm in Antarctica in the Minion right now.
Also in a blimp.
Yeah.
Really higher than blimps usually go.
It's the international airways. That's where I live.
Also in Antarctica.
Yeah, it's pretty high above Antarctica. Anyway, yeah, I mean the main thing, just one sentence summary of the graeber and wengrow, which is good. And seems good, is that it's about how badly people understand prehistory, and we're still sort of trapped in this idea that any kind of equality that we either any kind of equality that we had was in the past when we were living a kind of simpler life, or
not equality.
Yeah, right. Any kind of
it's interesting, really interesting that it is a bit of a challenge to come up with the right word, because the language that we live in is the world that we live in.
Right. A kind of egalitarian life of some sort was
egalitarian, kind of that's still equal. Right. But it's not about equality. It's more, I guess, a better equity is better than equality.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, complementarity and
I was describing the myth, I guess, which is about equality, the idea that we've lost a kind of equality.
Because that's an interesting thing so I guess because the critique is of a picture of history in general.
Right.
And so the critique is of this bracketed thing that involves thinking of that most people think of. We frame it as being about equality, right? And that itself is important, is we frame it as being about equality or inequality.
Right.
Somehow that captures us itself in some kind of false dynamic that isn't the question. And that's why I was trying to find my way around what really is at stake. But that's anyway, their first task is to to say, here's the way that things have been considered.
Right.
And it involves like these ideas of egalitarian communities,
Mhm.
versus our unequal kind of hierarchical systems.
Right. Yeah, I feel like we've gotten pretty far away from the minions, so maybe we could try to just wrap it up somehow, or like,
we read too much. We read too much for this
yeah, exactly.
clip. Because okay,
I feel like we could
Okay.
say
if the minions, because one thing that we might do, like we were talking about resetting the context for the minions in outside of the contours of the Illuminati nation agenda,
Mhm.
right? We want to maybe retell their story in a more accurate, revisionist, just way.
Right.
So, but I don't know if I'm prepared to do that. What would the minions have done? Well, okay, wait.
Well,
No,
the main thing is just
Maybe.
like why are the minions following around this lone caveman? Why aren't they being integrated into like some kind of civilization of cavemen? Because clearly they're cavemen painting art, like the idea of like this
they're
lone
finding.
caveman
Okay.
is the myth almost. So like,
Oh.
why
Oh.
why aren't there, bands of equals of prehistoric humans who are like commanding minions, you know, in some weird sort of democratic way or something like, what?
Because that wasn't something that we can imagine them pushing to an extreme of passion to explode it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I guess I'm just wondering whether that idea of them being presented in this way to destroy the powerful is itself a reaction to a narrative of great men or something like that, or like what would the narrative of the minions look like outside of that great man history? And maybe we can't answer that. Maybe
Yeah,
this is just the beginning of that investigation. I don't know.
maybe in minute 4, whenever that comes, could be a long time, I guess. Maybe by that time, both of us will have read The Dawn of Everything
Yeah.
by Graeber and Wengrow, and we can start to answer that question with more depth. Perhaps we'll have seen and analyzed more of the movie at that point too.
Exactly.
So we'll get back to this.
And then once we've done that, then we can maybe make a new Minions. We can make us Minions 2,
Mhm.
in which the minions are controlled by the people and not by
Yeah,
a villain, not by it, in which we're all the villains, basically. I don't know. And maybe all 400 people who are going to be in our next podcast episode can be the villains of that sequel.
yeah. And minions, I guess. Maybe part of the vision has to be really in line with the revision of prehistory that we're kind of thinking about. Maybe one of the distinctions that needs to be questioned in categories is the distinction between human and minion itself. Maybe we just all can become friends with some minions, and maybe we can learn to enjoy our relations of dynamic reciprocity and complementarity and grace and love. Maybe we can all learn to love the minions.
Sounds like some soy theory again.
And,
Soy, sorry. Minion pills, that's what I meant.
sorry, I'm soy.
Should we roll our die? Is this like kind of closing point?
I wanted to plug a book really quick. It's called The Dawn of Everything.
God damn it. Wait, we gotta plug a podcast too.
Oh yeah, we listen to a podcast. We like this podcast. Seriously, wrong. That was the podcast we listened to. That was enough of a plug. Wow, do you see these rays?
That's
of holiness?
I was saying we should plug our own podcasts, but that's a good one too.
I'd also like to talk about several other podcasts that I like.
All right.
No, just kidding. I don't want to. We're gonna roll our dice. Our die.
I've got it here with me in my Antarctic blimp.
Mm-hmm.
The Antarctic Zeppelin.
Uh-huh.
It's really weighing down my Zeppelin. I'm eager to get this done. If you can't,
It has to be big. It's got 125 sides, of which 40 are blank. Because
no, they're not blank. They just haven't been discovered yet. They're
I forgot.
undiscovered minutes of this movie that.
Yeah, but part of it is that whenever you roll a blank,
Yeah.
then you have to go and discover the minute. And when you discovered it, then you can come back to the die and write with a Sharpie, one of those very fine tip Sharpies, what minute it was that you just discovered.
Yeah, it's it's a coming of age experience in our.
It's a coming of age experience.
Oh yeah. Oh, we gotta put an adult rating on this.
Sorry,
podcast now.
sorry. I'm Stuart. What can I say?
Yeah, that's right. That's Stuart with his fire hydrants over there. Okay. 55. That's
Yay.
a pretty long time into the movie. Okay.
55.
Pardon me? Wow, so many. Good for you. Well, you'll all get what you deserve.
Said hello. Remember La Triba?
Yeah.
Hello. I don't remember.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Oh no, minions.
I don't.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, this is the dungeon scene. So if you haven't seen this movie, this is where it gets really scary.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie,
We were talking
close your eyes for this part.
Yeah, right. So you'll never see it. But it's like the Saw part that we were talking about in one of our previous episodes. This is it. Finally came.
It took a long time to get here, but it's
Really,
we just saw some saws, y'all.
it's crazy how fast they do that turn from the Monkeys cover to Saw, but it's one of the riches of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Impressive.
thanks for joining us for another 20-minute episode of the Million Little Minions a Minute.
We're the minions.
Hey. All right.
Okay,
Get your friends. Tell them about our.
need 400,
Get your 400 friends.
specifically 400, please. Please.
We need them. And please listen to our podcast. It's called A Million Little Minions a Minute. Okay, bye.
Cheers.